If I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm honestly a little bit concerned about how Cooper Flag is coming on. If I'm a Timberwolves fan, I'm not concerned about how this game went. What's going on? Welcome Timberwolves Today. I am Tyrus. It's a great day. Timberwolves won on Monday. You cannot complain about this win. It's exactly the wins that I was talking about that we want to see when we play bad teams. Beat the dog piss out of these bad teams. The Timberwolves have a very interesting schedule coming up. OKC is probably our next big test. They do play the Suns in there. The Suns are playing hot. Tough to, I don't know, on the road versus Suns. Probably looking at a loss there. But we beat the Cooper Flag led Mavericks. Um, I wish I could say that Nico was still there, but Nico Harrison not there anymore. Kyrie Irving obviously still out. No Luca. No Luca, obviously. Luca is spending his time in LA. So good for him. It was a full on scoring affair by everyone. All of our starters in double digits. Naz Reid, leading scorer for the game, with 22 points. Yeah, this was finally like the game where he wakes up. He kind of does this thing where it makes sense because he comes off the bench, but I mean, he led the team in points, led the team in rebounds. It was crazy. It was just diabolical. 11 defensive rebounds. And you know why? They don't have very good big men, if any at all. Like, I'm not even sure who their big man would classify as. I'm not even, who is this? Musa Sissi? There's no chance I'm saying that right. That was their starting center who played a whopping 26 minutes and had 5 points. Their other big man is obviously PJ Washington or Cooper Flag, I guess you could throw in there. I'm guessing he's just a forward. Yeah, he is. Dwight Powell coming off the bench for him for 17 minutes. Mavs are not a good team. So it is very good to see us beat them. The shooting all around was really good. Nothing to complain about there. Um, it's got to figure it out. He was 1 for 21 in his last, obviously 21 attempts from three. Don't love that. So anyone who was telling me that you know, he'll figure out the shooting, I'm not sure he will. Not sure we even saw that. Not sure we saw that at all. Um, that's my take on that, truthfully. No, overall, very good game. Very happy game. Nothing to complain about there. Now, we do have to clear up some of my recent takes. That's the next thing. Recently, I've been called out. I don't think he's watching the games. Yeah, sometimes I don't watch a full game. The box score helps me a lot. It's tough to watch 82 games in a year. Not complaining. Great that I get to do it and great that I get to talk about it here. But it is hard to remember everything that happens in a game, especially after recording right after one. So if I do get some takes wrong, forgive me. But I am watching these games to my fullest ability and bringing you guys the best content that I can. Um, yeah, it was kind of a lame apology of me to give, but yeah, that take, and then also people don't like how I talk about Dante and Rudy. I think my energy directed towards them is justified. Yeah, Dante's on a great contract, but like, how good is a contract for a guy who, great, you can average 12 to 14 a game, but his 3 point shooting is so flashy. Like it's hot and cold, one or the other. Like either be really good or really bad. I would still prefer that we trade him because I think we're gonna have to readjust a lot of the roster. With we have three max deals and Jaden is gonna get like we can't ship off Jaden. You keep Ant and Jaden. That leaves Rudy, Randall, and Dante kind of out in the air. I don't want to let Randall go either. I would prefer that Rudy and Dante go, and we can fill in their spots easier. I'll say that. That's a great transition to Rudy. People don't like how I talk about Rudy. Rudy's a great defensive player. We know that. That's true. He is no longer a very good offensive option. Never has been. 12 years in the league, I think, at this point, and he still hasn't developed anything offensively. That's very rare that you last that long in the NBA at this point with being that bad offensively. That just goes to show how good defensively he is, and I believe that. But I also believe that he's making like 30 million a year. We can't afford to have. How old is he? 30 at this point? How old is Rudy? 33 years old. We can't have a 33-year-old starting center. He'll be 34 next season, and 30 like we can't afford to have that on our books. This roster is too young and too good to be dumping salary into a 33-year-old center, and then we have to find a real center or a real point guard. Sorry, Freudian slip. Freudian slip. We do need to find a real center, a guy who can be a good offensive like fifth option. Rudy is not a good offensive fifth option. He's like the sixth option. Like if you could combine Nas's offense with Rudy, we would have a generational player that we wouldn't be able to afford. That player is actually called Victor Wembanyama. Now that I say that, out with a calf strain. Hopefully that guy stays healthy. I would love to see some more of him, especially versus the Timberwolves. I'd love to see that matchup. 1-versus-1 is always fun. But no, those are my takes. I hope that people, can at least see those. But some of the comments, you guys got it out for me. So that's fine. I appreciate the feedback and also, just commenting to keep the page going. But man, some of you do not like how I talk about those two, which is crazy to be a Rudy Gobert defender in the big year 2025. Now, if you were defending like 2022 Rudy when he won the Defensive Player of the Year, I would back off. I would say he's the greatest player we have on the team. But at this point, he's 33 years old. Putting up 15 points tonight was nice. Yeah, congrats. He scored more than Anthony Edwards. But guess what? They still, he just gets fouled and hacked. He shoots 50% from the line. No one shoots 50% from the line anymore. That just doesn't happen. That's just, I don't know. That's it. Open air on those. We need a real point guard. We need a real point guard bad. And why do I think that? I think that because of where our assists are. A lot of these teams who are good teams this year have a point guard who's averaging 8 to 9 assists. 8 to 9 assists out of a point guard isn't crazy to ask for anymore. It is very easy to do, it seems like. These guys, they can get their own points. Like, I'm not talking we need a point guard who can have like 30 points a game. I'm looking for 15 out of a point guard, which is what Dante's given us. Yeah, but Dante's only given us 2 assists a game. He's a shoot first type of guy. We don't need another shoot first type of guy. Yeah, Anthony Edwards isn't a shooter. How is the guy that, like, everyone wants to say Ant can't shoot? Why should we surround him with non-shooters? We should surround him with guys who can pass and facilitate. Ant can shoot sometimes, apparently. He led the league in made threes last season. Was he taking a lot of them? Yeah, but he beat out guys like Malik Beasley and Steph Curry for that title. That doesn't just happen. Ant is a good shooter. What he is not is a good facilitator often. He is kind of flashy, but he can tend to turn the ball over a little. Like, where's his turnovers? Yeah, Ant had 2 turnovers last night, almost the most on the team. He's not a good passer he's not as good of a passer as he is shooter and scorer. So why didn't we make more of an effort to land one of those point guards who is a known passer? Like, obviously, if we could get a younger version of Conley, that's exactly the type of guy we need. A guy who is a good facilitator, a good shooter if he needs to be, but his first job is to make sure everyone else is getting good looks and facilitating an offense. The offense should revolve around Anthony Edwards, but guess what? Anthony Edwards needs to revolve around a point guard that can pass. It's kind of like the sun and then earth and then the moon. Like, does that make sense to you guys? I think that would help this team thrive more than having a shoot first point guard like someone like Dante DiVincenzo. And it's just my take, just my opinion. I think that makes more sense. I don't know the current trajectory of this team is the right one. Slightly. We just need to slightly readjust, and that's fine. Like, we still look good. We haven't beaten a single playoff team. We haven't. We've only lost to them. Half of our wins are still against the Kings or the Jazz. The other half are against the Mavericks, Hornets, Pacers, Trailblazers, and the Nets. That's not ideal. Not ideal what you want to see. Let's go ahead and talk about the Wizards. I don't know what there is to say. This team is 1-12. We're at home. If there is even a chance that we look like we're going to blow this game, that's going to be meltdown mode. There is no reason for us to come anywhere near close to losing to this team. I want to go, and I want to beat them. That's it. Plain and simple. Take care of business. Ant, You say you want to put up career highs versus the bad teams? That's the bad team. That is the worst team, actually. That 1 in 12. 1 in 12, 13 games in. How do you not find more than one game? Hmm? Like, they're going to win 20 games, maybe? They could go for the worst record. And what's crazy is I don't think they're a bad team. Like Alexander Sarr's coming into his own. Which George do they have? They have Keyshawn George. Keyshawn George has looked good as far as like a point guard who can, kind of facilitate the ball and whatever. Keyshawn George, you want to be a Timberwolf? Uh, and then obviously they have guys like CJ McCollum and the rotting corpse of Chris Middleton. So they have decent players. Now, are those guys actually healthy? I don't even know. Yeah, Sarr is day to day. Sarr may not even be playing, which means we get to see Marvin Bagley the third. The lineup of CJ McCollum, Keyshawn George, Balil Kubali, Chris Middleton, and Marvin Bagley does not instill fear. Let's just go take care of business versus team. I want to see another game like the ones where we do beat the bad teams. That's one thing I can appreciate. We haven't truly struggled versus a bad team. We're not going to overtime or anything crazy like that versus the bad teams. There was obviously the game versus the Blazers where I think we went to OT. It wasn't a fourth quarter game. And we did beat them. So we struggled. But guess what? That was the first game of the season. That's not a problem to me. Since then, we have just beat the bad teams. Now, maybe we're not beating them at the halftime, but by the end of the fourth quarter, we're beating them by 15 plus. Like, it is a consistent thing that Timberwolves have done, and it's very good to see. So, let's beat the Wizards on Wednesday night and then move on. Because I'm not even sure who they play after that anymore. Who do they play? Yes, Wizards. Come on, show me the schedule. ESPN makes you click around a lot. Phoenix. So yeah, let's take care of business at home versus Washington, and then we can go to Phoenix and see them. Not sure how that one's going to go. That one's a little scary. And then after that, we play the Kings for the third time this season. Let's see if we can go 3-0 versus the Kings before the month of December even hits. Super cool. And then we could see OKC next Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays from now, the 26th. Big game right before Thanksgiving. But that's all I've got for you guys today. So until the next one, take care.